Never change, Australia. Never change. We're talking about the Howling 3. Let's get into it. Hey everybody, it's Chris. Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be reviewing the Howling 3, the Marsupials. I wonder if you knew that there were like 9 of these. You know, it's like the Children of the Corn series. They just kept making them. These are actually pretty decent, whereas like the Children of the Corn, even the original Children of the Corn is not a good movie. I know some people might think it's a good movie. It's not a good movie. The first Children of the Corn sucks. It's a bad movie. But anyway, let's get into the Howling 3. This is a horror comedy. Now, I will preface this by saying I watched this movie very blind. I did not know anything about this movie. I had bought it a couple years ago. It's been in a box in my closet. But a couple weeks ago, I was digging through, trying to be like, I know I've got some weird movies buried in here that I've bought secondhand, and I want to find something fun to review. So I was like, oh, the Howling 3. Let's talk about that. I talked about the Howling a while back, so I'll link that video for you too. It was an older video, so forgive me. You know, it's like a 20-minute long video. It's one of my few longer videos, but I broke down that whole movie. So if you're interested to see my thoughts on the Howling, I'll link that up below so you can check that out as well. But let's talk about the Howling 3. So I did not know that this was supposed to be kind of a horror comedy. So I was watching it as very straight, and I was like, this movie's bad, but kind of amazing. In a weird way, it's kind of amazing that it's so bad and that it could be so bad, but then later I found out that it was a horror comedy, and then some of the bad was just bad because like, oh, now they're trying to be funny, and I don't think it's funny in some instances, but then, you know, sometimes it is. But I don't know what's intentional and what's not. I really don't. I'm gonna give you a brief description of what this movie is about, because me talking about the movie, you would not get what it's about, because it's a very weird movie and a lot of it doesn't make any sense. There are a lot of just scenes in this movie that don't interconnect, that are just there because it's Australia and it's weird, and I don't know. Dingo on the Barbie, some kangaroos, something. But let's get into what this is actually about. So, long ago, the now extinct marsupial wolf, aka the Tasmanian tiger, roamed the Australian outback. Today, a werewolf colony that's descended from these marsupials taken over the land. This race of human-like creatures roams the outback, feeding its need. The race for survival is on as humans struggle to contain these out-of-control creatures. This tongue-in-cheek, well, it says tongue-in-pouch. Get it? Because there's pouches in these werewolves. Anyway, tongue-in-pouch horror comedy stars Barry Otto, Max Fairchild, a bunch of Imogen Ansley, which is the main lady. She's pretty sexy. She's pretty cute. She got some weird eye things going on sometimes, but I don't know if it's just like the context or whatever. But anyway, if you want to see a woman's boobs covered in hair, that she's a werewolf, she's got a pouch that kids come out of, then I don't know. If that's your thing, then this is the movie for you. Or if you're just Australian, is this like the movie of the country? You know, I can't see that being the case. They're very stickler on some things. This is the movie, this is the proud representation of Australia. That's how I see it. You know, I see it's very Australian to me. Put my hand over my heart, and praise be the Howling 3. Anyway, so let's get into this movie. So we follow this professor, and he shows a video from like 1905, and it shows basically he believes that it's the first actual recorded showing of a lycanthrope in the wild outback. And so he's been like, his father did this, now he's doing it. It's very boring, and that plot line is stupid, and I really don't like this character at all. I know he's like a mainstay in Australia. He's fine, the actor is fine, but I think his plot line is very dumb, and I don't know that I really like it. And then we have like our other main plot, which is the female werewolf, and this guy that is basically like transfixed by her, sees her, and then like has to date her and create her fucked up marsupial child that he does. I'm just saying. Let me paint a picture for you, okay? There's like the colony with some incest stuff going on where they're creating lycanthropes. This girl is part of that. She escapes. She goes in the city, meets a dude. Then there are these other ladies that are going after her, and they're like werewolves dressed as nuns. Very weird. That part is pretty funny. Then they end up at a club because she's been doing this movie. Randomly, he sees her on the street, and he's like, hey, I'm making a horror movie. So he brings her there. Very funny that there's like a fake werewolf. So obviously, very like meta commentary here. It's talking about itself in itself. It's very done. I don't even remember when this movie was made. But anyway, they are doing that, and then she gets invited to this party. So we're leading up to this party. They are triggered by like flashing lights, and that's what can cause them to transform like not of their own will. They can do it pretty much whenever they want, but this causes them to just do it. So they're at this party, Okay, the director invited them to this party. They're there, and there's a lot of flashing lights, and you find out that this can cause them to like inadvertently transform into lycanthropes. So she does. They just met. This is the day they met. So now picture this as your first date, okay? You're going out to like a club, doing that. She kind of turns into a werewolf. She throws him to the back. She's like, I need you now. Like, I need you to impregnate me now because I need another baby werewolf now. And so they do it. And then they go back, and everybody's very sweaty in this movie. It's very weird, and I'm sure it's very hot, but they're in this bed. There's a scene where they're in this bed, and it looks like they have been like drenched in sweat. And I'm like, you guys aren't even doing anything. You're just sitting there. Like, where is this? The surface of hell? Is this the surface of the sun where you live? Anyway, they're cuddling there, and then all of a sudden the next morning they wake up, baby's coming out of a pouch, like right here, like a little ET creature, you know? And I'm just saying, if I was on a date, hypothetically, me and you, we're on a date, and we're laying next to each other, and then you have a fucking creature come out your pouch, you know, that's in your belly, I don't know that I'm staying with you. It's weird. I'm just, at that point, there's a lot of things I could deal with. I don't know if I can deal with creature coming out of a kangaroo pouch out your belly. I don't know. I just not. He's real into it, though. I mean, he's like, yeah, I mean, this is what I was looking for. I was looking for it. He literally at no point does this man ever question anything that's happening in this movie. So it's very strange because he's just like, yeah, that makes sense. You know? I mean, he must be very desperate. I'm just saying, like, as a man, he seems very desperate to get some. And I don't know, this is the way that he should have gone. You know, but anyway, I mean, he did his thing. He got it. I mean, the hair covering her entire body probably would have given it away because you see her kind of without her shirt on. So, I mean, of course, you're probably into that. But then she's very hairy. And I'm not judging now. If you're a woman, you got some hairy titties. That's fine. You do you, girl. But I'm just saying, in this context, I would be a little taken aback all of a sudden and be like, oh, that's my first red flag, is that. And then pouch with creature, second red flag. And then werewolf, third red flag. I'm just saying, they're stacking up against these girls. She seems like a very nice girl, but there's a lot of things that aren't going very well for her. So he's just like, yep, let's just do it. Let's just do it. Let's run away and keep this creature, baby, that is literally like compound growthing. You know, it's like an investment. He is compound growth. He's like at like 15%. This kid is growing like every day. And then it's like a human baby. So it's weird. It's like creature, then human baby by the end of this movie, then adult baby, but still werewolf. I think still half werewolf. Anyway, so we go back. That's pretty much all of their things until the very end. And then the doctor, he's basically following him and trying to figure it out. So he captures a couple of them and he's testing them out. There is a very cool scene in this movie where they're like forcing this main guy to transform. Very well done. That practical effect is awesome. Some practical effects in this movie are very good. Some of them are very bad. There's like a good fake movie that they go to at somewhere, and I think it's They Came from Uranus or whatever. A lot of good special effects. I think like half the budget went to that. I'm just saying, I don't think it actually did, but they got a lot of cool effects in that with the big long snout. So there's some cool stuff throughout this film with practical effects that I really like and I'm in for. That's the type of stuff that I like in these like B-schlock movies. But overall, anyway, we get back to him. He's going out. He's fallen in love with one of the werewolf ladies. I don't know what is about these two random dudes that just happen to be into werewolf ladies, and they're both not fazed by it at all. I'd be fine if that was their ultimate thing, like, oh, I've learned to love. You know, it's like Beauty and the Beast. But these people from day one are just like, bam, I'm into you. You're a werewolf lady? I mean, I had nothing going else on. It's like Wednesday at 3, so I got nothing else going on in life. I work at a deli, you know, making sandwiches. So I guess I could do this, you know, by Friday. I mean, you know, by then maybe something will change. But you know what? Let's do it. Bucket. Let's do it. Anyway, so they both are on this like laissez-faire journey in Australia. I guess it's just Australia. They got nothing else going on in Australia in the outback. So I guess why not? I mean, I guess if I was there and might get killed by a kangaroo, this might be a better choice. You know, join the enemy lycanthrope. I'm belaboring this movie a lot. It's just not a lot here. Anyway, so those are all like main plots. And so basically at the end, you get all these. There's some funny moments throughout this, but a lot of it, like there's a moment where they like break the fourth wall and they look at the camera. I don't know. So there's some weird stuff, but again, it just seems like a lot of scenes. It's scene, but none of it really connects ultimately. Like I said, you got these two parallel stories going on throughout most of the movie. But then at the end, they do something that's very weird. And like the last 15 minutes, we like skip like 15 years. And so this guy's moved in with the werewolf lady. The professor has moved in with her like in the middle of nowhere to keep them, you know, out of, you know, the eyes of the real world. They have a child who then is like grown. And then the other people go out back into the real world. And because they're like, no, we're going back. We can't be here any longer. They go out. She becomes a model. He becomes a director. They do the things. They're very successful. They have a grown child. And then the other guy, professor, has a partner who basically like questions him a lot. You think he's, I mean, at one point I thought he was dead because he gets attacked, but he's not. He comes and he's like, guess what, guys? They passed the bill, man. Stamp that shit. Sign it into law. Werewolves are cool, man. We're cool now. You can come back. Now, I don't think this is actually the case. They never like mentioned that this is a thing, but because of the events, you can come to that conclusion that things are not as they seem. So they come back. I think he knows this is going to happen. They come back, and then he's like giving this lesson that's very similar to the original lesson that he gave, you know. No new material in like 20 years, even though he literally has, you know, found a colony of lycanthrope and studied them, and then now is like married to one. You'd think he would have more material than this, but he doesn't. So the adult child of our couple comes to him and is like, hey, my parents would love to see you, you know. They'd love to see you and meet you. And so, hey, come over. They're going to be on TV tonight. And then we get a very similar scene. It's very reductive of the original Howling. So if you've seen that, you know, the girl escapes and then she turns into a werewolf on camera. And that's basically what we get here. She's like, accepting this award, and a lot of this is very cheaply done, so I'm kind of wondering what was added at the very end. I'm not saying the movie looks cheap, but this very end part does. It seems like it was like added at the last minute. It's like, this will be super funny. It's not. And it's just weird. And so basically I'm like, at no point has there ever been any strobing lights. She's been gone for like 15, 20 years. Never has she been in a room. She seemed very keen in the beginning of the movie to just go into a club. She gets videoed, so there's no things where there's I don't know. Anyway, so there's a lot of camera flashes. Like, again, this is the first time she's ever had a lot of like, there's no paparazzi. There's nothing like, I don't know. This is where it's like, I'm just taking it, you know, with what they're saying, but it seems it's a big plot hole because I feel like this would have happened before. She's accepting an award, bunch of cameras, she turns into a werewolf lady. That's the whole movie. That's all I've got. This has been like my longest review to tell you nothing. It's a weird fucking movie. You should definitely check out The Howling 3. It's worth a watch. You can decide whether or not you love it or not. I think it's a bad movie, but also an amazing movie. I had a fun time. I just dropped my remote to my camera, so that probably means it's time for me to end. All right. If you like what we do here, consider becoming part of the collective. And yeah, that's all I got. I'm going to link some videos for you as always at the end. And I'm going to talk to you guys in my next video.